The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. It's our final segment here. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
And we talked in the first hour, it was all baseball. We talked about the Cubs and the White Sox. In the second hour, we've been talking about the NBA. We talked about the NBA Finals. We were talking about Joakim Noah possibly going to the Timberwolves, and we sort of were looking at the landscape of the NBA. And we're going to continue that by talking about the Bulls, and then we're also going to talk about the Stanley Cup Final, which is, it's getting very exciting.
It is. Sharks just won Game 3 in overtime, 2-1
Glad they did.
To avoid going down 3-0 to the Penguins. And in a very, very exciting game, it was Jonas Donskoy, or Jonas Donskoy. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I
don't know.
Yeah, I listened to the goal call from like the Finnish version.
Yeah.
of the goal call, and that sounded like how he was pronouncing it. He had 11 goals and 25 assists on the year, so 36 points in his rookie season.
Wow.
And he scored the game-winning goal in overtime. Joe Thornton had 2 assists in the game. Martin Jones made 40 saves on 42 shots.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah, he outplayed Matt Murray in net for the Penguins, who are still riding with Murray, even with a healthy Marc-Andre Fleury. They're going with the hot hand. Matt Murray stopped 23 of 26 shots.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty impressive, obviously. And it's great to see that the Sharks are doing well. They were, dead in the water, sort of halfway through the season.
Their
right?
GM was talking about a rebuild last offseason.
Yeah, and they really got it together. They played well at the end of the season. They got into the playoffs. I think they were 7th seed, maybe 8th seed even.
No, they weren't the 8th seed.
Okay, I think they were 7th, maybe 6th. I don't know, but they made it, and they just kept beating teams. It was great to see them beat St. Louis in the Western Conference Finals. I thought that was outstanding.
The series I was shocked the most about was how they just dismantled the Kings in 5 games.
Yeah,
they could not believe that.
Right. The Kings were supposed to be, back in the Western Conference Finals, maybe against the Hawks. A lot of people were talking about that. But it never happened, and it was great that San Jose beat St. Louis, and now they, I'm glad they didn't go down 3-0 because that would be nearly impossible to come back from. Although it happens in hockey, of course, but Stanley Cup Final, it might be a little tougher.
Yeah, it probably will. It would be, and it's all been exciting games. Each game has been decided by 1 goal. The Penguins won the first game 3-2. And then the Penguins won Game 2 in overtime. The game-winning goal was scored by Connor Sherry in the 2-1 win. So, been a very close, exciting series. And the Sharks desperately knew they needed to win Game 3, especially once it got to overtime. They knew what needed to be done, and Martin Jones stepped up with 40 saves in the game.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And Martin Jones, he sort of came out of nowhere, I guess, right?
He was the Jonathan Quick's backup.
Yeah, no one ever heard of him. I never heard of him.
He was traded to the Boston Bruins in the Milan Lucic trade in the offseason, and then the Bruins sent Jones to San Jose when they were looking for a goalie. And then he had a very good regular season. He was able to get them to the playoffs. In the regular season, he won 37 games. His goals allowed average was .227, .918 save percentage, and 6 shutouts.
Wow, yeah, so he definitely has done a nice job.
His first full year on the job. He's done a great job. He's 26 years old, so there's definitely a lot of upside there in the coming years, especially at your first full season starting. You're leading your team to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's definitely done a nice job. I'm happy for the Sharks. I kind of like it when teams that have, especially a team that's never won the Stanley Cup. I think it would be great if they did. The Penguins have won 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, they last won in 2009, and
Right.
then the Blackhawks and the Kings kind of took over winning the Stanley Cup. It would be nice though if the Sharks win it because then the Western Conference would just continue their domination.
Yeah, they've pretty much won it every year since 2010.
Besides
right?
2011, the Bruins beat the Canucks.
Yeah, except for 2011. Otherwise, it's been all about the Western
Blackhawks
Conference.
and Kings.
Yeah, the Western Conference in both the NBA and the NHL have both been pretty dominant.
Yeah, and in Game 2, Jones stopped 28 of 30 shots. That was the 2-1 loss. In Game 1, Jones stopped 38 of 41 shots in a 3-2 loss.
So what do you think is going to happen tonight with the Sharks and
I think it's going to be 2-2
Penguins?
heading back to Pittsburgh. Martin Jones at home in the postseason has just been an animal.
Yeah. I hope the Sharks win. I think they will. I mean, I have no reason to think that it wouldn't be tied up. It's usually what happens in hockey. You get a lot of ties, and they usually go 6-7 games. So, yeah, I think it'll be a competitive series. We know the Penguins are good. They have some good players, including Sidney Crosby. But I think, I think it's definitely going to be competitive. I know I have a family member. He's a big Washington Capitals fan for some reason. I don't remember. I think he used to live in D.C. or something. He's a big Washington Capitals fan. So of course, naturally, he hates he hates the Penguins. So he really wants the San Jose Sharks to win too.
Yeah, Capitals just have not had the playoff success that they probably were expecting.
Right.
Especially with the season they had this year and in the past years having a star like Alex Ovechkin on their team.
Yeah. It's weird. He's a Capitals fan, and then for baseball, he's an Orioles fan. So he likes those teams in that mid-Atlantic area. So whatever. But all right, to end the show, we're going to talk about the Bulls and sort of what crap they're going through still. I don't know if you saw this. It was right before Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Jimmy Kimmel does like a
yes,
pregame show.
I saw it.
Jimmy Butler's wearing a Marquette jersey. He's wearing a Marquette jersey on Jimmy Kimmel's show. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that just shows you. I mean, if he doesn't even feel comfortable wearing a Bulls jersey around, he doesn't. I think he does want to be there, but he, is fed up with everybody, and a lot of his teammates. It came out. A lot of his teammates think he's getting preferential treatment, and there's a lot of turmoil going on there, and he's wearing a Marquette jersey. It's ridiculous that he did that, and it's ridiculous that the Bulls management led him to do that.
Yeah, that Jimmy Kimmel segment was something because he had to make that really long shot.
Yeah.
I think it was like an 80-foot shot.
Yeah, I mean, we knew he'd never make it. But
when I watched it, I was like, okay, he's going to run up and shoot it. Instead, he just baseball threw it.
Yeah,
he had that
didn't care.
huge red
He doesn't
line
care.
to shoot from, and instead he stays like 5 feet behind that red line, and
Right.
then just baseball chucks it. And the ball was probably never at least 10 feet
I
short
think it
each
landed
time.
in the street. It didn't even land like on the court or anything, or didn't even come close.
Yeah, no, it never had the distance.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he was wearing a Marquette jersey. That really ticked me off. One, because I don't like Marquette, but two, because it's just ridiculous that he would wear that, not the professional team that he's playing for. So it's just a little crazy. So yeah, I don't know if that's a precursor to things to come. If they're looking to move him, I don't know. I doubt it.
You just hope that he didn't do it, and that it actually represents even more dysfunction that we don't know about within that organization.
I think that's exactly what it does. I hope that's not the case, but I think that's what it'll do.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if there's even more dysfunction. It's really, really just a tough time to look forward to the offseason with the Bulls because you really don't know what's going to happen.
Hey, Derrick Rose is only going to be here for one more year. I would be shocked if he's here past one more year. I don't want him here. And he thinks he can get money elsewhere, so we'll see how that works out. I don't think he's going to be... he's not going to get the money that he thinks he's going to get. We know that.
Yeah, well, you never know. That could all change if he has another MVP-like season. It's unlikely that he'll play like that.
It's not going to happen. There's no way. It's not going to happen.
Hey, you never know. Guys in their contract years tend to have one of the better seasons of their career, the best season they've had in a few years.
True.
That's usually motivation. Like, Zach Greinke last year.
True. It's just I mean, how many times? I mean, people. I mean, in general, the Bulls fans are nuts and crazy, but I mean, there's some people that still think like. There was some account on Twitter. I forget what it was. I think it was like a Bulls Talk account. It's an account that I follow because they followed me and I wanted to be nice or whatever. But they said something a few weeks ago. They tweeted out like a picture of Rose, and then they're like, comeback year with a question mark. It's like, we've been doing that 4 straight years. I don't think it's going to happen. Now, can he have a better year than he's had? Yes.
I mean, he could build off of a very strong second half of last season.
Yeah, he was much better in the second half than he was in the first half. The problem was he was good, everyone else was not, and they just kept falling and falling and falling.
And then he would miss a game every now and then because of general soreness.
Every 5 games. Oh, I have general soreness. Okay, so does your whole roster, and they're playing. So it's a little ridiculous. I don't know. I'm not holding hope on anything. I used to love him. He was my favorite player. He was everyone's favorite player, after the MVP year. He was so great, and, everyone in Chicago fell in love with him. And now I would say well over half of those fans could care less about him now, including me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a frustrating time because right when he gets the big contract, he starts getting injured and...
I mean, it was horrible timing when they signed that max contract, obviously.
It's a good thing there was a max contract because their management said they would have given him a longer deal if they were allowed to.
Yeah. I can't imagine, like, if he was here, like, if he was signed to, like, 2018 or 2019, like, oh, my gosh, what would happen? I don't know.
Probably nothing that would result in the firing of anyone.
I know they would not win the championship. They're not going to win the championship now. You can pretty much write Pau Gasol off. I think he wants to join the Spanish national team to end his career. We'll see if he does that or joins another NBA team.
His brother seems to think that he has an eye on the Spurs.
That would be very interesting. I could totally see that happening, too, because he would be a good fit there with sort of their veterans that they all have. And, he'd be a good fit there. Joakim Noah is gone. He wanted out. He does not want to play for the Chicago Bulls.
He has no faith in the Bulls front office.
And he used to love the Bulls. He was like the Bulls ambassador, Bulls spokesperson.
He was the heart and soul of the team, and they just lost him.
Yeah, and they lost him, and it's the Bulls' own fault. It's not Joakim Noah's fault. It's the Bulls' fault for one. They started off on the wrong foot when Fred Hoiberg came to the media and said, Joe, we talked to Joe and he's okay with coming off the bench, and then it came out a few months later that he was not okay with that, and he was furious about it. He wanted a lot more playing time than he had, and then of course he was injured most of the year, which didn't help. And the Bulls were moving in a new direction, and Joakim Noah does not want to be a part of it, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, no, and he has no faith in Bulls management, and I think a lot of Bulls fans are with him on that. Yeah,
for sure. So I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Bulls, but I do know that it's not good. It's not going to be good. I don't anticipate them making the playoffs, but you never know with those 7th and 8th spots. Anyone could make it, but you never know what's going to happen. There's a lot of teams that I think are better than them at this point. So, yeah, I think that's sort of where we're at right now with them.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because a couple of years ago it looked like they had a wide window to win an NBA championship, and now it's closed and they need to find a new core.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be back on next Monday. As you know, our time slot has changed now from 4 to 6 on Mondays. Normally we would be leading into South Bend Cubs baseball, but they have an off day today according to the calendar here. So next week they will be playing, and we will be leading into that, so that'll be fun as well. And that's about it. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We'll talk to you next week. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.